All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here today. Welcome to the Public Policy Institute Summer Cohort Graduation. At this point, I'd like to call on Senator Will Castro to give some opening remarks.
Wow, thank you. Speaker, can I have you come up? That would be great. Senator Marsh, if you could just join me as well. First of all, before I get into the text of the opening remarks, you always know you're in good company. First, when the podium is just set perfectly. And second, when you're surrounded by beautiful Democrats and people who are practically my height, we see eye to eye on many issues. And I appreciate Dr. Marsh is on heels, but we're really the same height. First of all, welcome on behalf of a very distinguished group of interns and senators and contributing members of this community. I want to welcome you to what has really grown over the last decade, if you will. You're seeing a bunch of interns who were given the distinct privilege to contribute substantively to public policy issues, to participate in ceremonial aspects of our job, to participate in critical dialogue, to observe and learn firsthand what it's like to be in a position that requires tremendous temperament, focus, commitment, and true love for our people. I'm a teacher by training, and I can tell you that students know when you're faking it. So there's no way you can have an internship that's as productive and fruitful as this one if you don't really love what you do. And I'm so happy. As a matter of fact, most of my kids, they're still my kids. Most of my kids here know that I talk to them more than you probably would hear me speak at session. And so I want to welcome you to the Institute. The Institute, Public Policy Institute, would not be what it is today if it wasn't for the speaker who birthed and gave life to the idea. So if I can ask you, in my humility and on behalf of a grateful 35th Guam Legislature, join me in extending a wonderful round of applause to Dr. Judy Wampat, the former Speaker of the Guam Legislature. I'll take just maybe another minute of your time to tell you a little bit about what this group of interns do. So this is not your typical summer job, at least my summer job, where I made coffee and I swept and I dusted. And back then, it was pretty tedious when you had to dust and do a lot of different things for the office. And nowadays, I think, Speaker, there are ethical considerations and probably even laws that prevent us from doing things like that. But notwithstanding all that, all jokes aside, in all seriousness, these folks have contributed to the discussion on compact impact. They've actually done a lot of things over the course of many years. They've participated in professional workshops. 2 or 3 of our facilitators are here, and we'll honor them appropriately in a few minutes. They've had discussions on the Guam CNMI visa waiver, actually the Guam NMI visa waiver, right? And we're talking about other things like White House-sponsored roundtables on college success. They participated across the river, if you will, in the CNMI to help facilitate stronger discussions, buy-in between the 2 jurisdictions, insofar as it relates to college success. And that was the first cohort. This year, they managed to participate and also go on ride-alongs and take a couple more workshops and also tour some of our island's more critical agencies responsible for safety, law enforcement, and overall health of this community. I actually wrote this 8 years ago, so I'm having a senior moment. But it's really heartfelt and touching to know that you really have contributed to this body in a major way. We've grown so attached to you, your personalities, and your intellect, and just everything you've done to be a part of this legislative family. Some of these people, if you don't already know parents, you know your son, who's now going to be my son. I have no intention after he graduates of releasing him yet from the program, so we'll find a way to take care of his gas money. We have a University of Guam student. We have students from St. John's, students from Harvest, students from GW. The baby of the group is a GW student. She's not even upper class yet. She's still in her sophomore year. We have the best and brightest from the homeschool community of Guahan, and we honored their parents for producing a superstar who came in second runner-up, if you will, or first runner-up. I guess so confusing when you say first runner-up. Like, you should be the champion. So I guess first runner-up to being the finalist for the military or Air Force daughter or child student of the nation. And we're talking about the great United States of America, not just this great Chamorro nation. And so we have those two homeschooled students who are with us and others who are going off to prestigious universities as well. We talked about the University of Guam, the best in the West, and we have a student who's moving on to Georgetown. And we have other students who are considering pursuing their graduate degrees. And so my point would be, we take everyone with a true desire to learn and contribute one way or another to the success not just of the program, but to the advancement of all our common and great interests for the people of Guam. With that said, I'll turn it over to my boss in the program, someone who was a witness to Speaker Juan Pat's original institute, and who, upon receiving the support and affirmation of the people she leads now in the 35th Guam Legislature as a speaker, has decided to reinvigorate the program and asked me, and I appreciate that, to ask me as a minority leader to assist her, and I appreciate that. Without further ado, the Honorable Tina Rose Muña Barnes, Speaker of the 35th Guam Legislature, if you can join me.
Si Jules Masi, Senator Castro, also half a day, and good evening to each and every one of you. Many of God's blessings. I first want to thank my colleagues who are here, Senator Castro, Minority Leader, Assistant Majority Leader, Senator Kelly Marsh Taichano, who was also very instrumental in working closely with the interns. And I want to thank all of you guys for being here. And I know based on customary accolades, we want to do some acknowledgement. Speaker, thank you very much for taking the invitation, for being our keynote speaker, and truly blessing us here with your presence this evening, because it was through your idea and your vision, working with then Will Castro, now Senator, but also one of your youngest students then, Mr. Sharak Bawani, who sometimes he likes to say, I may have been the youngest, but Auntie Judy always put me in check. And I want to say to the family that literally when you take a program and you put a lot of love and nurturing in it, then you have a successful program moving forward. And even if it sometimes gets shelved, if you see the vision and you see the heart, and you bring all the stakeholders together and the key agencies together, you will have a very successful team. I do want to recognize from the governor's office, Ms. Janela Carrera, thank you so very much. From the Council General's office, the Council General of FSM really wanted to be here. She extended her apologies because she had to leave on an emergency. Mr. Johnny, thank you very much for being here. Please give him a round. We also have the team from the Guam Police Department, headed by the Chief Steve Ignacio and his team, Sergeant Officer Santos. Thank you so very much. We have from the Department of Corrections, and I know that our students were very, very, I want to say, when they came back to the office, were said, oh, did they have such, I may not want to say a rude awakening, but a bright awakening, because they truly had a 100% hands-on experience and interviews with all the key players that work in the Department of Corrections. But I want to say welcome to your Congress building. I am your Speaker of the 35th Guam Legislature, and I want to say that over the last 2 months, I personally had the pleasure of getting to know each and every one of our students that will be graduating today. And I want to say that from your orientation that was held in this exact room to your graduation this evening, I have watched each and every one of you grow. I've observed your passion, your dedication, and your work ethic, and also have seen the true potential. And I want to say to each and every one of you that I am so blessed to have the great group that I had, and I know, and I'm sure that Senator Castro and Senator Marsh Taichanu feel the same way about their cohorts and their interns that worked closely with them. I want to say that from the very beginning, a couple of months ago, from your grammar errors in the letters that I had you write in your first week here to the speeches and messages that you had to draft for our office, which are now, and I want to say, error-free, and making the news, taking the time to step up to the plate and be in the media and share your presentation and your testimony. I want to say that being here and spending the last 2 months with each and every one of you, I feel that I have been able, and I believe in my heart that the positive impact that this will have in your life, just as you've done, will be greater for me in my career as your public servant moving forward. And the blessing that I see is those extra set of eyes, that fresh perspective that each and every one of you in this cohort team, that what you have done, and I want to say as your policymaker, the lessons that I've learned from you this summer, I am sure will give me the extra blessings to moving this island forward in my career. So ladies and gentlemen, give these guys first a big round of applause. I also want to take the time to thank the parents. To all the parents, please stand up and be recognized for your hard work and believing that your children and your loved one have the ability and the courage and the wisdom to apply for this internship program. Please stand up and be recognized because you truly believe in them. Thank you so very much. And ladies and gentlemen, the successes we had in this Public Policy Institute would not be possible if it weren't for the contributions of the experts in our community, from the workshops on weekends to Dr. Cabrera, Deborah Cabrera, Ms. Janela Carrera, Ms. Kate Baltazar Dodge. Thank you for investing in these students. To the members of our Government of Guam team, the Guam Police Department, the Department of Corrections, BBMR, the Department of Education, Joint Region Marianas, the FSM Consulate, thank you so very much. And also, we had nonprofit organizations that our students got the opportunity to speak with, like Manuela Manetlu, and that's just to name a few. I want you to know, family and friends, that these interns, on the first week that they were here, had to present in front of the Pacific Consortium conference, and they did not know that a lot of the participants came from off-island and that they were presenting themselves, and they were amazed that this cohort was in 1 week and was able to answer questions and not even be afraid. They were more brave than I was, trying to read through the presentation and literally acknowledging that it was because their work was the reason why I was just there to facilitate, and that the participants from off-island were amazed at the work that they did. So I want to share with you, as we look at the return of investment that this program will have for the future, visioning Speaker Juan Pat's vision that she had when she was Speaker of the Guam Legislature, we have introduced legislation as supported by Senator Will Castro and Senator March Taitsino. I want you to know that if this bill becomes law, that our commitment from the 35th Guam Legislature moving on will ascertain and work closely with this administration to seek federal funding to make sure that this program exists for a very, very long time. So that commitment, in as far as the return of investment that you guys have provided for your children, that we will truly commit to making sure that the resources are there for that. And I just want to say, undankal masi to each and every one of you. You guys are all the VIPs, and thank you for being here on this beautiful evening just to acknowledge our interns for the hard work that they've done to truly tackle the present issues that are happening within our community, and wanting to know that they can make a difference with their suggestions and recommendations and action items to move forward. So, God bless each and every one of you. Sainamasi. Thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we will start with the certificate of recognition. And if I may, I know this is not unorthodox, but only fitting that I also ask former Speaker Judy Wampat to join us up here in the presentation of this certificate to the students. I'm going to ask that Senator Kelly Marsh Taichano help us in reading the certificate of recognition to the graduates of the Public Policy Institute, and then we'll proceed with the names. Read that, and then just present it to the named individual, and then.
Okay, I see. I get the very small fine print to read. So I broke out my reading glasses. So, introduced by William M. Castro, Tina Rose Muña Barnes, and and all the senators. There is the certificate of recognition presented to Al Lebang.
To the named individual. We'll do the named individual, and then for this all the way down.
Okay. To commend you for your participation and congratulate you on the completion and as a distinguished graduate of the Public Policy Institute program, which was held from June 24th to August 14th, 2019. The Committee on Rules of I-35 na Legislatura en Guahan hereby directs that this official expression of its recognition, commendations, and congratulations be forthwith sent on behalf of I-Legislatura en Guahan and the people of Guam, signed and sealed in the city of Hagatna, Guam, on the 13th day of August 2019. Certified and signed by the Speaker, Tina Rose Muña Barnes, the Chairperson of the Committee on Rules, Regine Bisco-Lee, the Legislative Secretary, Amanda L. Shelton, and the sponsor, William M. Castro.
Thank you. And before we start calling the graduates up, I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Sam Taichano from Manuelo Undankaluna Nasizus Masi for being here and being a part of this successful program. So, Mr. Al Lebang, give him a round of applause.
This next certificate is presented to Faith Camper as a graduate of the PPI.
Miss Amanda Alec.
This certificate is presented to Hira Kodiam Plako.
She may be the youngest, Miss Genevieve Steiger.
And although it's not on a certificate, I do want to say that this certificate is presented to the baby of the Institute, our youngest recipient to graduate from the PPI, Kyla Ann Trinidad. Did we misspell that? Okay. Thank you, baby.
Nolan Flores.
Maylene Ye. Outstanding. Another graduate from the Public Policy Institute, Olivia Salas. Congratulations, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next graduate is literally trying to get here, but I still want his name to be recognized to the listening audience. This next certificate of recognition is presented to Mr. Tristan Quintanilla. Please give him a round of applause. And I know that he's really trying to get here, so. Ladies and gentlemen, the next part of the program this evening is the presentation of training certificates.
Just for the benefit of the folks who are not aware, we try to encourage our students to take full advantage of the specialized training with subject matter experts from the community. It's kind of like taking these graduate extended courses or education courses without the tuition, and so we're very, very happy that they took advantage of these opportunities. This particular certificate of recognition is for the completion of an introduction to research workshop held on July 20th, 2019. The interns were provided the distinct opportunity with working with Dr. Cabrera to research and write bills, also to conduct critical analysis on some other pending items. Al Labang.
The next of the certificates is presented to Amanda Alec.
The next certificate is for Hira Coriamplaco.
And next, we have a certificate for Kyla Ann Trinidad.
I'll just finish off the last two certificates for this workshop, Maylene Ye and Tristan Quintanilla.
If we can call on one of my favorite former bosses, there's two of them in this room, if she can come up here to present certificates for her communication workshop, Ms. Janella Carrera.
Okay, so this is Public Policy Institute Certificate of Recognition for having completed the Introduction to Communications workshop that was held on August 3rd of 2019. The first one goes to Amanda Alec. Faith Camper. Maylene Ye. Al Labang. Mr. Nolan Flores. And Vicente Blas Tyron. Thank you.
And if I can ask Ms. Kate Baltazar Dodge to come over and assist us with awarding the certificates for an Introduction to Executive Writing workshop.
Thank you, Senator Castro. This is the Public Policy Institute Certificate of Recognition for completion of Introduction to Executive Writing held on July 13th, 2019. Mr. Al Labang. Ms. Faith Camper. Ms. Genevieve Steiger. Hira Kodiamplakal. Ms. Kyla Ann Trinidad. Ms. Maylene Ye. Mr. Nolan Flores. And last but not least, Mr. Tristan Quintanilla. Sudusmaasi.
Thank you. The speaker has asked me to extend our prerogative to take a moment to acknowledge that one of our distinguished graduates had actually made it this afternoon. And so we're very happy to call upon Tristan Quintanilla. Please come on down to get your distinguished graduate certificate from the Public Policy Institute.
Throughout this program, we've had the support of numerous members of our community to help out and make this program a success. So now we'd like to take some time to recognize each and every one of them. If you can just join me with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next certificate of recognition is presented to the named individuals for their continued support and partnerships for the Public Policy Institute Summer Cohort. So if I may, Ms. Janela Carrera, Director of Communications, please come up and be recognized. Thank you.
I'm afraid to ask. Oh, there she is. Sorry, I'm afraid because she's my fiance, I should know if she's here. But I know you were at the university, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. It's my pleasure to present to you, although it's not my place, Speaker authorized it. This certificate of recognition is presented to Dr. Deborah Tudela Cabrera for your outstanding partnership and support of the Public Policy Institute. Please.
This next certificate, we'd like to recognize Director Samantha Titan of the nonprofit organization Manetlu. Por favor, consigue muna. Just also, ladies and gentlemen, I don't see her, but I make sure that the recognition is there. Miss Tanya Mendiola from Joint Region Marianas, please acknowledge, give her a round of applause for her hard work. I'd also like to thank this young individual who took the time to also present with the cohorts yesterday with the policy briefing with the legislature, Dr. Zenaida Natividad. Thank you. From the Guam Police Department, and I know that the chief is here, and I'd like to have him come up, and also Officer Santos, Sergeant Paul Tapal from the Guam Police Department. Chief, please just join him, and Officer Santos, please come on up, just so that the listening audience can know that you're a part. Come on up. Oh, you're going to take, come on up. The next team, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to call up from the Department of Corrections, and there's about several of them. Warden Alan Borja, please join us. Give him a round of applause. Also, from the Department of Corrections, please help me give a warm round of applause to Mr. Joey Pokaigui, Corrections Officer 2, who literally, ladies and gentlemen, does a lot of the training and goes way beyond the call of duty to make things happen for his colleagues and for the department. If I may also give recognition to Major Anton Uggan from the Department of Corrections. Please give him a round of applause. He's not here. Ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Director from the Department of Corrections, please help me acknowledge Mr. Joey Terlahi. This next recognition goes to Ms. Donna Cruz Case. Please acknowledge. Thank you for really taking the time. This next one, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Ms. Kate Baltazar Dodge, my niece. Thank you. From the Guam Police Department, Police Officer 2, Ms. Susie Santos. I did not forget about you. Come on up. From the administration working with the Bureau of Statistics and Planning, I want to recognize the participation from Director Tyrone Titano. Please give him a warm round of applause. He's not here, but his better half is here, and also from the Governor's Office. So if you can come on up, Ms. Janella, and have the two of you accept this on behalf of the legislature. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Council General's Office, FSM, I know, as I said earlier, Council General Teresa Philippin was called away, and she has sent her representative, and as You know, the work that the cohorts, the interns have done was very impressive. They spoke and did their presentation on COFA, and I just want to thank the Council General's office for literally playing a vital part in working with all the other agencies like DOE to make this happen for our interns. Please come up and be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, this next set of certificates of recognition are going to be presented to these folks, but they're not here with us, but I please would like to continue to at least make full recognition for their support in this program. From Joint Region Marianas, Mr. Roy Titsui. Also from Joint Region Marianas, Ms. Tanya Minjola. Also from Joint Region, Commander Thomas Price. From the Department of Education, I don't see him here. I'd like to acknowledge him. If anybody here is from Department of Education, Mr. John Fernandez. Thank you, Dr. Zanan, please.
Thank you, Speaker, for the privilege. So she got through the 300, and I'm going to close off with the last three. It's important to make, actually I teach my kids all the time, you give credit where credit is due. And I want to tell you, without any qualification, it's upon the backs of these individuals that we built a successful program yesterday and today. Starting with my right hand, who's also a professional educator. He came in as an intern and ended up managing the program in Sanahanya in my office with Senator Luis Borja Muña. Thank you. Aaron Relinsky, please come on over. Thank you so much. Thank you. Were you about to kiss me? It's okay. You know, and this one is honorable mention. This was the original intern, part of the first cohort, who never left after 3 cohorts. I mean, he isn't just a distinguished graduate. He should be Dr. Chirag Bajwani from the Public Policy Institute. He is, in essence, he's actually like Deborah and our son, you know, from afar. He went off to college. He's one of our success stories. And he's always been this tall, dark, and handsome, and extremely intellectual. And not only was he a part of my cohort, I have no problems managing him because he has great parents. This was Dr. Wonpat's a member of her team when I eventually left to go back into the classroom and then run for senator. But this gentleman has come back to serve his community well. And I got to tell you, with all due respect to myself and the speaker preserving her integrity, I really credit Chirag Bajwani for having the fortitude to hold the line, the wisdom to take advantage of people's strengths, and the commitment to see it through. Chirag, I love you and I thank you.
Goes without saying, you know, that it takes teamwork, and there's also another recognition, and Chirag had asked me to mention, to give this recognition and special mention to a very fine young lady who's part of the policy team and literally always just does things behind the scenes, just trying to make it work and literally trying to catch up with Chirag. Please help me recognize Miss Stephanie Lorenzo for all her hard work. Chirag goes 99 miles. She's right there with him, making sure it gets done. So I want to thank you for the teamwork and the work. Please come up and get recognized. Yeah.
And it's also my distinct pleasure to introduce the next recipient of a certificate of recognition, but in fact, she's also chosen, thanks to the speaker, to be the keynote, to deliver the keynote address. And I got to tell you, if there's a secret sauce behind her success, I like to think, in great part, it's because she's an educator. She's a retired school principal, but a lifelong educator. She's also has not yet retired. She's given a lot of her time, energy, and I'm sure her money, her hard-earned retirement money, and her career money now to lead an entire school system. And so you're a tremendous beacon of example, Dr. Wanpat. Please come on down.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Well, I always knew Republicans worked hard, but I had no idea the Democrats pumped out young interns who put in well over 200 hours of community service. And so I want to thank you so much, Al Labang and Maylene Ye, for an outstanding service rendered unto the people of Guam in this great community. Please come on over and receive your Outstanding Service Award for the 200 plus community service hours you rendered. All right, my cohort, we're gonna make it 300, so make sure you stick around. Nobody graduates today. Just kidding. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor and a delightful pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker tonight. As a lot of you may know, that when I first came into this policy-making body, there was so much that I had to learn. I won in the 27th Guam legislature, lost in the 28th, but came back in the 29th. And if there was anything I learned, it was about coming together, working together, but more importantly, to see the vision to truly make a difference, especially for our children. And when she had this opportunity to have this internship started in her office, I was literally in awe, because I could see the students learning and wanting to give back. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Speaker Judy Wanpat. Please give her a round of applause. It's the godmother of the Public Policy Institute.
Thank you, whoever set up this podium. It's perfect. Normally when I'm invited to speak, the podium is usually taller than I. Good evening, everyone, and thank you. Thank you very much for being here and supporting your children. Most importantly, I'd like to recognize and congratulate all of the PPI students. I think it's a wonderful, I hope you had a wonderful experience. 8 years ago, can you imagine that? I actually had 3 boys spending summer in my office. And they are being Joseph and Chirac. But their goal was very simple, was to come to my office, do nothing, play games, and hope that they can put their experience on their resume. Fortunately, I had then, of course, Senator Castro now, but Will was working in my office. And we had a conversation, a very serious conversation about our boys. As a former school principal, A lot of schools normally would have students serve as office aides, school aides, right? You guys know about that? But I wouldn't have it in my school because I felt that it was a mindless task. And instead, what I wanted the children to do was to learn from the experiences in whatever it is that they're doing. And before I forget, by the way, your hours that you receive in community service, you actually can convert that to service learning hours as part of your graduation. And that was the legislation I wrote as well. So as an educator and having an educator in my staff, that's when the birth of course, PPI came about. And unfortunately, at that time, we weren't able to bring in public school children. We were only able to bring in students from a private institution. And it made it even really worth its while for us to do this, because what we found, especially with our private school children, and this is no offense to the parents, but that these children were basically sheltered. And I say this because I remember one time they wanted to do a fundraiser because they wanted to get a T-shirt to identify themselves, and we decided we were going to have a car wash. And we went up there one weekend, and the children looked at each other and looked at us, and they said, "We don't even know where to begin. We don't even know what to do. Our parents would just take the cars and have them washed." And so that was a rude awakening experience for them. Why do you suppose then that it was important to be able to teach these children about public policy? Because they knew nothing about the government. And this was going to be their first experience. Now, what we did is very differently from what you're doing now. We brought the students in who are interested. We interviewed them. We asked them what their interests were. We told them that they must go out to the departments and agencies, and I'm really happy to see that it has really expanded beyond what we used to do. I used to only have 5 to 7 students as a cohort per semester, and here I see you have a large number of students. We would have the students write their proposal, because naturally we're educators. We want them to write. We wanted to see what their writing skills was like. But more importantly, we also wanted to have them speak, because as you know, research have shown that one of the biggest fears that people have is public speaking. And we wanted our children to start practicing how to speak before a group. So the students then would have to present their project, not just to me and my staff, but they had to present to their parents, and I see Sharak's parents are here. And they also had to present to the senators. Along with that, they would then request to visit departments and agencies, and they would have to do interview, they have to research, they have to write, they have to look at data, they have to do some analysis of the data. But it didn't stop there. They had to write a bill. And they also were required to testify on a bill of their choice. That's what the PPI students 8 years ago did. But I'm very pleased with the expansion of the program. So I think that maybe now you might want to consider some of the things that we used to do, hopefully. So why then public policy? And I'm going to share this with the parents as well, because sometimes citizens in our community may not know this. But policy is made in response to some sort of issue or problem that requires attention. Policy also might take the form of a law or a regulation, rules that would govern a certain issue or problem. Policy is made on behalf of the public. Policies oriented toward a goal or desired state, such as a solution to a problem. Policies ultimately made by governments, even if the ideas come from outside the government, or sometimes there's interaction of different departments and agencies. Policy making is part of an ongoing process and does not always have to be clear at the beginning, because I remember when I met with the students, it wasn't clear what the issue is that they had chosen to do some research. And decisions, of course, will be made to benefit the public, and sometimes there are unintended consequences that it may not even benefit them. No doubt that there are a lot of problems in our community that needs to be solved. And I'll give you an example. Typically, public policy deals with issues of concern to a larger section of our community, as opposed to matters of interest only to individuals or small groups. Governments frequently interact with individuals such as citizens, corporations, or the neighboring islands. And one example of this was when we found out that CNMI wasn't able to ship their cattle to Guam so that we can breed our cattle, because they were far more advanced in terms of artificial insemination of their cattle versus what Guam was doing. And everyone agreed, with the exception of only one person here on Guam. And so it's not just that we do legislation basically for us, but actually how it would affect other entities or government. Another bill also that we discovered was that our students from FSM could not participate in the AmeriCorps program. And through research, we found that they could, and that they were not eligible for scholarships also at the university. And then by legislation, changes were made to do just that. So it is not necessarily just for us in Guam, but actually it's able to affect other islands. I won't say other countries, because we can't affect, of course, other islands, but countries, but rather islands. Policy can even be made when government refuses to act in ways that would change the status quo when public opinion is different. An example of that was a debate over the media. The legislature refused to pass legislation at that time. Those, probably many of you weren't born yet. But how do you suppose the name of our main road here is called Marine Corps Drive? It was originally named Marine Drive. But through the effort of one individual who walked from Assen, from the governor's complex, all the way to Tamuning and back, carrying the Marine Corps flag. And as a result, then through an executive order, the governor has made it then now law and changed the name, because the legislature, who normally would be passing legislations, didn't do it. So that's how now we got that name. Typically, educated and elected and even high-ranking appointed officials may lack expertise in an area, because remember, our senators are not experts in all subject matters. So they would have to depend on, like our PPI students here would do some research. They would depend on the experts within the government entities, and then, of course, would be able to write the policy and eventually bring it to the floor. Now, of course, I've debated whether I'm going to say this, but many times is that a lot of these legislations or policies that come about are not done in privacy or in secret, because policymakers want to make sure that everybody knows about it, because it's an opportunity as well to be able to let them know the work that they are doing, and hopefully they'll be reelected in the following term. Now, to all our interns, I'd like to say that when I met you, when you came to interview me, I found you to be really very different from my first cohort. You seem to be a lot more mature, and I say this because you're definitely a lot more mature than Chirac when he first came into my office. The Chirac I knew was too busy trying to get expelled from schools, I mean different schools. But you know, we laugh about this, and when I thought about Chirac, I actually thought of myself. Because when I was in college, my first 2 years, I was doing exactly what Chirac did, and that's why I understood. I was skipping classes. I was spending most of my time in the cafeteria, not going to my classes, in hopes that the school will kick me out, because my father didn't want me to go out and get a job right after high school. So I thought if I could not, convince my parents, I was going to let the institution kick me out. And I think that's what Chirac was trying to do. But it's amazing, but sometimes it is those students who do fool around, eventually mature and will find their way, and I think Chirac has found his way back here. So overcoming challenges, of course, for you will not be easy. But if you can inspire someone just as much as you have been inspired by them, then you'll come a long way, because I know Chirac has. And I understand that you continue to keep the adopted motto, right, of educate, inspire, and act. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. I'd like to also let you know that by being a part of PPI comes with a lot of benefits. And it's not the benefits in terms of monetary benefits, but ultimately it could. And I'll tell you why. Because when we started out this program, we were approached by the advisor of the Junior State of America, who was looking for students from Guam to attend some of these Ivy League universities such as Yale, Stanford, Princeton, and Georgetown. And he was able to find all of them, the students rather, to attend from my PPI program. So every single intern that we had were able to attend these Ivy League universities. We weren't able to fill one other position, that was to do an exchange program to China. But for all the Ivy League universities, they were able to attend. The second is that yes, you are then, and as Chirac wanted to do at the very beginning, Chirac, Bing, and Joseph, is to use it in their resume. And it really helped in their acceptance into the universities of their choice. And as a matter of fact, every single one of our students, our PPI students, were admitted to Ivy League universities. And even one in London, that was Joseph. And last is that because you have taken the opportunity to do some research, to become an expert yourself, one of our students actually took a trip with his father to Singapore. The father had a meeting, and it just so happened that the conversation had to do with the Jones Act. And the father remembered that the son was doing some research on it because he had to make a presentation, as a matter of fact, to the legislature. And the father stopped and called his son into this meeting of business executives. And they had questioned his son and to get him to explain how the Jones Act, works and how it affects, of course, territories. So, that's another benefit. And then ultimately, of course, when you do finish, then that's where the final benefit, of course, will come in, and that will be the income in which you would earn after your completion of your school. So I want to thank the current speaker, for, of course, I know sometimes she and I argue a lot when I was in the legislature, but she's been very supportive. She loves the PPI program and worked with me and asked me that if this is something that, this is something that she really wants to do and would I support her, and that she was going to enlist the support as well from Senator Castro, and he's agreed to do that. So thank you for that. Thank you. Hopefully it would pass, and then it really would become a part of this legislative body, because after all, it is a body of policymakers. So congratulations to all of you. And parents, thank you very much for allowing your children to participate in this wonderful program, because you don't only learn in the confines of four walls, but actually one of the greatest experiences is to actually learn outside of the four walls and to get that first-hand experience in policy making. So congratulations, and thank you again for having me here this evening.
Senator Marsh, would you like to join us? Undunklin Asizuas Masi, Speaker Juan, for being our keynote speaker tonight, and the inspiration that you've shared not just to us as policymakers, as public servants for our community, but more importantly is seeing the vision, and no matter what happens, you always find the best in people, and that was what she was able to do, was take a vision that was presented to her, but able to carry it on. And when things changed and we had the opportunity to come back, is blessing me with the opportunity to follow a very successful program. And as you have heard through her speech, that it is about giving the best opportunity for our interns to literally lead a successful career after they finish their studies. So with that, I'm going to ask all the students to come up and join us with Speaker Wampet to take a photo, and then I'm going to ask the family and the presenters that literally helped in this with our Policy Institute team to join us with the photo. But on behalf of the 35th Guam Legislature and our people, we congratulate the students on a job well done, and we want to also extend our Undunklin Asizuas Masi to the parents who believe that their children can become that great. And also, ladies and gentlemen, after the photos, we do have some light refreshments, some very good, we do have some dessert and vegetables to stay healthy, and we're asked that we extend an invitation for you to join us right after the photo taking. So again, thank you so very much. Sainamasi.